It's a mini I found online on Thanksgivers. There's so many awesome minis that you get on there. They're like all the ones on Thanksgivers are all free, and this took like 20 hours to print. But like when it comes down to the cost of the mini itself, it only costs like probably $1 at most for all the filament. So like when it comes to 3D printing, it's pretty sweet deal.
Yeah, as long as you have the time, it's definitely worth that.
So have you ever done any kind of miniature painting?
I have not.
It's fairly simple. I mean, it's a matter of, of course, priming. So right now I actually have two primers on it. I have a black primer that I did underneath, and then I sprayed a top primer, it'll give it like natural shadows there. And then I took pictures of it so I can kind of use it's called zenithal priming. I took pictures of it so I can kind of use it as references to kind of see the natural shading, and it gives so you can kind of give a more three-dimensional look instead of something flat. This one I did the other day for that live or that podcast video, and it's okay. It's just kind of a very quick painting. I'm going to take much more time and do, much more detail, something kind of like this one. A little bit harder to see. But kind of the first thing that you do is just you add a base paint. And this will cover up pretty much all that shading that you see that's there. But like I said, I'll use a picture for a reference for all that. So, and just sling it on. At this point, you want to use paint with multiple layers. So I thinned it out with water so that the paint's not real thick. And if you have thick paint, it'll kind of cover up that detail that's in these minis. This one not as bad because it's... Go ahead. What'd you say?
I said, good call on that, because that's pretty easy to do.
Well, and this one's so big though, that the thinning process isn't as important, but on something tiny, like this dude, it has to be really thin paint and multiple layers. Otherwise it'll gunk up and it'll get covered up really quick. So have you played any games recently?
Not any tabletops. I have been working on Breath of the Wild, and full admission here. I personally really enjoy playing a video game just to recharge some of that creative energy when writing campaigns. So I've been working on writing a bunch of stuff for tabletops right now more than playing.
What kind of writing are you doing in particular? Like campaigns or?
Oh yeah, we're midpoint of a campaign right now. Nice. And we're kind of in that point. It was a campaign for all new players, so we're now far enough in where they want to know more about their characters. So we're writing kind of those scenarios where they can really learn about who they are.
How many players do you have in this campaign?
It's a big one. There's 5. So not unruly large, but it is large.
Right.
But at the same time, when there's a group of people that want to play, I also don't want to say no.
Right. Well, they lose out opportunity to, try something. Is it new players or?
Oh yeah, all new players.
Oh, wow. How'd you get a hold of a group of all new?
So it was kind of a fluky interaction. A 2020 pandemic relationship, where you're a friend with somebody, they do something online, someone else is part of it, you talk with them, turns out you get along great too, and just kind of that chain followed a few steps, you know.
Right.
So at one point, we'll all probably sit, make a point of sitting at a table and actually playing, but that's a ways off. But on the cool side, this campaign, we've got one guy from Wales, somebody from
Oh, wow.
Oregon, like literally people from all over. So finding the time was actually the hardest part.
So what time are you having to play it?
We play at 2 o'clock on the first Saturday of the month, um, with the exception of this month, just because two of them couldn't make it, so we pushed it back 2 weeks. But yeah, 2 o'clock. So that ends up being 7 p.m. Wales, and then um, 11 on the West Coast. So not bad.
It's pretty awesome to be able to connect people from like all over the world and do something completely unusual compared to you know normal meetings online aren't to play games. So it's a good excuse for everybody to get together and do something fun for once and not think about all the crap that's going on in the world.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, the last year for everyone has been awful, but um, the technology being what it is, there's still a lot of opportunities to connect with people, to make new friends, to still play games, whether it's a video game and you're playing, over um, Xbox, or whatever, or a tabletop through Roll 20. There's still ways to connect with people. Thankfully.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, how much different it would be even 10, 15 years ago. Be a much different
Oh, even
situation.
even 5 years ago.
Oh yeah. Was there Twitch 5 years ago?
Yeah, there was, but just the ease of video conferencing, um, the fact that there's more and more people now that feel comfortable with decent audio setups and um, high speed internet, much more readily available. I mean, that's a huge one. Could you imagine living through this on dial up?
Oh man, big killer.
On those days of 5 hours a month of AOL?
Yeah, how many hours of internet do you have? Like that's a concept that
Uh,
none of my students,
no one today.
like no one understands
No,
that.
no, and we all use more than 5 hours a day.
We use 5 hours like on our phones, like it's nothing.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, most people still have like limited data, like how much time they have on their phones. But I mean, that's even going to be such a thing of the past.
Oh yeah.
So are you writing these campaigns completely fresh or is it
Um, I,
modeling?
I've started with a module because simply in Roll 20, it's a whole lot easier to get good maps in that way,
Oh yeah.
as a starting spot. And plus, the module gives you access to online, your monster manual, your compendiums, all that stuff just built into them, which makes life a lot easier. Um, but then I start basically I use the modules for the maps,
Right.
and and they're pretty, they're pretty inexpensive, all things considered. Um, like I've not ever taken a full module, and there's some amazing ones, and just run that with the game. I've always riffed on them quite a bit.
Well, even if you take a module pre-made, like Wizards of the Coast is so good about, well, currently, they're so good about making modules that are so flexible that, it's so easy to adapt it to anything, any situation, any kind of game. And they leave the modules good enough so that it's open-ended as well as it's good for people to modify. I really like the models that they've been coming out with fifth edition. It's
Oh,
pretty
there's
nice.
some really great ones. Um, I haven't finished it, but the Dragon Heist one is great.
I love it.
Um, there's one I can't remember the full name, but it's Strahd, basically like this whole vampire arc, which is a blast.
So riff off of it's basically Ravenloft 3 point or for fifth edition.
Yeah.
I've been really wanting to play that one. Or at least like read through it. It looks so fun. It's a perfect Halloween game too.
Oh, for sure.
So when you're writing, do you use inspiration from other sources like movies and stuff or video games? Video games are always great sources.
Oh yeah, for sure. Honestly, kind of one of the neat things about meeting most of these players through Twitch is that I have an idea of the video games that they enjoy and they like. And that makes writing a lot easier, especially considering you don't really know everyone.
Right.
So just kind of knowing their source background, the kind of things they enjoy, game changer.
One of my favorite sources is fantasy novels. There's a writer named Michael Sullivan, and he has this book series called Rhaenyra Chronicles and Rhaenyra Revelations. Oh, they're so good, and they're just funny. They're easy to listen to, like audiobooks. It's just a great source. And there's one like short story that he had that's free online that was just so perfect adaptation to making like a gaming module. And I just basically took the ideas that he had in that story and just adapted it to like a fifth edition game. It was really fun, and it's actually a game that I'm going to run. I've ran it with adults. I'm going to run it with some students eventually when we can get ourselves back in a normal gaming routine.
Well, I mean, there's still good ways of gaming right now. It's just a matter of catching them and being able to have them on Roll20, for example. Like you can still do it.
Right. What age group do you have?
We have a few different groups at school. The one I am running, although we're on a little bit of a hiatus right now, just because I needed a little bit of extra time myself, is a fourth grade group.
Oh wow. And
so like they love the character development, the storytelling. They need a lot of hand holding for mechanics. So a lot of times it's more like, tell me what you want to do.
Right.
We'll go from there.
Right.
AJ runs a middle school group and then a high school group too.
Now
at the school.
Have you ran it with fourth grade on Roll20?
Yeah.
Wow. And it was pretty smooth, or how'd that go? Like
for the most part, it's pretty smooth. Roll20 every once in a while has these little like foibles where someone's audio doesn't work, or that kind of stuff. Which I've caught happening a few times. But for the most part, it works really well.
Yeah, that'd be my fear, is like with a student kind of new to D&D, is having them on Roll20 and then like the clunkiness of the software kind of like holding them back, like where they're like, this isn't really that fun. But in reality, it being caused by the like the technological errors and stuff. That's my only fear is getting them on there and then it just not being a good experience, not because of the game, but because of the like technological issues.
Basically that first time, it's have a parent near you so that we can make sure everything works,
Right.
and then go from there. The part that I don't love about running a game distantly is, and it's easy with young players, is if there's a TV on in the background, if there's a this, if there those other things, and then it's like, okay, it's your turn, and they're
What's
watching the TV that their brother has on, kind of thing.
what's happening?
That Yeah, that part is a little tiresome, but it's just the way it is.
Hey, that's
I've played
that's a
in
struggle with adults too, though.
Oh yeah, I've played in person games where it's just at someone's house, where they're just the kind of person that has the TV on 24/7. They're not watching it; it's just on,
Right.
and a pretty short session ends up always being elongated because of the distraction that's in there.
That's my problem. It's like I get distracted so easily, like running a game and playing a game. I just it takes very little to get me off task. I'm just like one of those kids in that sense, and it's it's really difficult. So I have to really set my environment up to be perfect. Like every time we've gamed together, it's I always go to the 10th level to get the environment ready, and it's not just for you all. It's a lot for me.
Oh, for sure. I can do a lot of different things at the same time. The negative part of that is that then I probably don't do them all very well at the same time. And so I tend to find myself being like, okay, yeah, I can manage this, do this, and this at the same time, and
Right.
I can't.
So I almost have all the base layers on. The hard part for many like this that has so many like twists and turns is that there's like little nooks and crannies that kind of hide. And when you're painting
Oh,
like
for sure.
the base layers on here, then you miss something. Like right in here is a whole section that I missed. Now, I'll probably need to go over this again with the same color to really saturate it. Because right now, with it being thinned, it you can't see too much on here, but you can see some of the black primer coming through. So I'll
Hmm.
want to really saturate it again with another layer. Now, I think what I'm going to do before that, since most of my tentacles are dry on this, this is a death kiss, by the way. Pretty cool monster. But what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to make these little tentacles red, or kind of a pinkish red, and then fade it into each other.
Hmm.
Always when you're doing base layer paintings, like the beginning part, it's like it looks like crap, it looks like crap, it looks like crap, and then all of a sudden it all ties together. I mean, it's kind of funny. Just like you're like, oh, it's not turning out, it's not turning out, and then it's just like one little touch, and then it just like magically sparks together. I guess it's that
Yeah, well, I
way.
mean that's the creative process in general.
Right. I mean, we do that in our music too.
Oh yeah, it's awful, it's awful, it's awful. Hey, it's not bad.
Yeah, I think this paint's a little too wet right now, but that's okay. So you've never done any miniature painting before?
Mm-mm. I never have. But to be fair, I mean, although I've played a whole lot, um, I'm fairly new to
Yeah.
playing as far as years. I was not playing back in high school or things like that. And only on a handful of occasions have I ever played a game where everybody can be in the same room. Like a lot of times I've played games with people in different cities, um, different towns, friends that moved away, etc. So I mean, honestly, I haven't really used a lot of minis.
So I'm doing something right
You know,
now called wet blending. I'm taking the two colors that are transitioning into each other and kind of just exactly what it is, blending them, wet blending them. You have to use wet paint to kind of get that process to work.
hmm
Yeah, that's kind of funny that you've played mostly games with people, like live or like online, where I've played the opposite. I'm almost always, I don't know if I've ever played an online game.
Well, yeah, we did one for the episode.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That would be my very first time playing online.
Yeah,
Which,
I mean, so even
I was,
even the first full campaign that I ran as a DM, we had four players that could be together plus me in the same room. One who was in Tennessee.
wow.
So, we always had to at least have some kind of a visual system on a computer where everyone could see.
See, one of the things that really attracted me to D&D beyond just like the camaraderie and storytelling was just the miniatures. So when I was a kid, we had a gaming like hobby store, and I always liked models, like model cars and stuff. And
hmm
that was kind of my intro to it, was figuring out like, oh, there's war games. Like Warhammer captured me so fast. But see, I never did it when I was a kid because it's so expensive. And it was just one of those things that I never did then. And honestly, when I first started teaching, I didn't do it either until my wife was like, you like this stuff, just get it, just do it. And it was her push that kind of got me into it, which then rolled into D&D and everything else.
hmm Yeah, it's kind of funny how all that ties together. For me, I always enjoy it. The minis, I love the look of it, and working with it. But it's just because of kind of the circumstances of the games I've played, I've tried to focus more on the group storytelling aspect and getting more into characters. And for me, that was always the more appealing part versus the manipulatives, but probably just because I haven't played a ton of games where we've used them.
Right. Well, and it's an expensive side to get into. Like, it's not cheap to do miniatures, which is one thing I really like about this 3D printer. It gives me an excuse to kind of do more. But it's a it's a lot to get into, and then that's a whole hobby in itself. It's just doing the minis
Oh yeah.
because there's so many people that play or that do painting tutorials and all this painting stuff, but they don't play games. Honestly, I don't even really play Warhammer. I've played very few times. I know the game pretty well. I actually enjoy watching it, but I just don't. I haven't played it very often. It's
Yeah,
a
I know of it, but I don't really know much about it other than it is mini heavy.
it's very mini heavy. The funny thing is like the game of Warhammer that I like the most is Kill Team, which is not so miniature heavy. It's a skirmish type game. I really enjoy of all war games. Skirmish is the best to me.
Yeah, and I wonder how a game like Warhammer translates online to like a Roll20 platform.
There's a lot of people playing it on that tabletop simulator stuff.
Yeah, so I downloaded the tabletop simulator on Steam, and it's a blast.
Is it? I've I've messed with it. I haven't used it to play. I do think I would like it because I am very visual in that sense. I think it'd be right up my alley. but my computer just doesn't run stuff like that very well. Like it'll run it for like 5 minutes and then it like starts to overheat my computer.
Yeah, we all could stand a new machine. Let's be honest. um, you know, and if if the tax return gods are kind this year, then that might be the route I end up going.
Yeah, that would be nice.
But yeah, it's tabletop sim. I got on and played a Wizards of the Coast game called Betrayal, which is kind of like RPG mixed with light RPG mixed with like Scooby Doo. If that
really?
makes sense, kind of campy horror stuff.
That's awesome.
And we had so much fun playing. I enjoyed the character elements as much as the game, whereas the other people were playing were more into the actual game. But I brought a little bit of lightheartedness and storytelling to what we did, because I'd never played before, so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll just be this one. And I looked at the card and I was like, oh, I'm a 12-year-old boy. Okay.
That's funny.
So it was like, I'm in the basement. I was like, what are you looking for? And I was like, probably booze or cigarettes or something. It's like I'm looking for I don't care about the mystery. I'm probably just up to no good.
Is that any different than you like now though? Like maybe not the cigarettes, but at least looking for the booze?
Well, I know where it is now. Although, since you mention it, the Never Going Home episode, that was my character's hallmark, was just chain smoking.
Well, and every character that you've played in my campaign.
Well, yeah. Really, it was the one. The first guy that I played in the campaign with you was really just a beefy monster guy. He really wasn't. He wasn't so much motivated by it, whereas.
That's true.
Beverly. It was a personality shifting thing about Beverly.
Yeah, when Beverly wasn't drinking, suddenly turned very intelligent. Or no, was it the opposite? I forgot.
It was the opposite. I had 2 character sheets for him.
Oh yeah, you were very peaceful. Yeah, Beverly was very, very peaceful and calm, not on the booze.
Very erudite. But could not fight to save his life. So yeah, I've made him as a Flowers for Algernon type of character, where it's like, I guess I'll be dumb because this is what they need.
I love it.
I'm not sure what I'm going to play for Saturday, because I don't know what everyone else is going to do. I read the materials kind of about the world that AJ sent us, and so I'm either thinking I might go Warlock, because I do enjoy playing a Warlock, or because it's fun. It's fun because you are possessed by an old spirit, and you can kind of make deals with that spirit.
Oh, cool.
With side effects if you fail, obviously. Or I might, because there's some pirate activity, I might be a rogue that was a pirate.
One side note, key tip is don't put your coffee cup too close to your water cup for 2 reasons. One, I almost just dipped my paint into my coffee, and then on multiple occasions I've drank out of the paint cup.
Safety tip.
Yep. I haven't actually got to look at what this the game is going to be next Saturday.
Yeah, I mean 5th edition, but it's in a part of the world that I've not played a game in, so I'm excited about.
So what setting is it in?
Well, I can pull it up.
This is kind of fun because I haven't played a game in years. I've only DM'd.
Voloterra.
So I wonder if that has to do with Volo like the adventurer, like the or the I guess he's like a writer. Like Volo kind of writes all the like the reference books of all of
And there's, many module packs that are his stories, his tales.
yeah. Well, you actually worked with him in our
Yep.
last campaign.
Well, Beverly wouldn't have remembered it.
Of course.
But yeah, so I'm curious to see what everyone else wants to play. I mean, I do play a good tank, but I've also played several tanks. But if we don't have a tank, then I'll slide into that role. I'm a bad healer player.
That's what
Although I can play.
I think that's
I can
what I
play a
want
good
to play.
paladin.
I think I'm gonna try to shoot for a cleric if no one else gets for it. But I want everybody else to have the chance.
I know Don likes being a bard, but I don't necessarily know if he'll be a bard.
Yeah. I have a good idea that I've played one time with a cleric character. If AJ will allow it and no one else is playing cleric, my character was worshipped the god of trickery, but unknowingly it was unknowingly that he worshipped the god of trickery because he was convinced himself that he was a god and that he was getting his divine power from himself, although it was through the god of trickery. And so he was convinced.
Yeah, that would be a fun one.
He was convinced he was a god and a healer because of that. So it was fun. I only got to play it one time, and I really wanted to see that character develop. And his magical item was a mirror because he was very narcissistic.
Nice. What's Amber want to play?
I'm not sure yet. She typically plays something tiny.
Support. Yeah, she usually plays support classes.
And plays it very well.
So she does. Okay, so maybe I should be the tank. If you're going to do cleric and she's going to do support, it depends on what Don. Because somebody has to be the beefy boy and takes the damage.
Right.
And that is what I play best.
What's that? There's that podcast that I believe Don or AJ was telling us about. I listened to one episode and it was really good. I just hadn't revisited it. And it's about the characters and they all play bards.
Oh, yeah.
It was really fun.
Someone was telling me that a great multi-class role is the barbarian, which I've never
Oh, really?
That one. Yeah.
I haven't done that. That would be fun though.
I think I've actually shifted. I used to like barbarians as my tank class. I think I'm more of a fan of the paladin at this point for the tank.
Nice armor.
Well, and some healing ability.
Right.
And then, also depending on your setting, the ability to detect evil, the holy weapon, the radiant damage kind of built in, can really help. So yeah, I guess I will plan on a tank.
Sounds good. It'll be fun for sure. I'm definitely
again, unless Don wants to tank it up, and then I'll let him.
And Bard's a fun character to play if he doesn't pick that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just remember him saying that was his favorite.
Yeah, I do remember that too. Have you ever played a Bard?
No.
It's pretty fun. I've only played it once. It seems like all the games that I've played just always go one game.
Yeah, I've in campaigns I have played barbarians, paladin, warlock, and I've played a druid.
Yeah. My first character ever was a dwarf fighter, and he was a disgusting prince. His dad kicked him out of the dwarven kingdom to kind of go explore himself and get his together before trying to take over the throne. And he didn't learn much. He just continued to be disgusting, and he had a fellow dwarf protector, kind of like an assistant, who was also disgusting. And we collected our heads of our enemies, refused to take baths, and our other characters were forcing us down to take baths. The protector character was cool because he didn't have any actual weapons. He only had 2 shields. So he was kind of a pacifist, but he would attack with his shield sometimes. Which was pretty cool.
Yeah, maybe I'll dust off old Torgar, bring him back.
It'd be pretty fun. He's a fun character for sure.
Yeah, and I think he was probably right around the level that we're going to start at.
Yeah, level 5, I believe.
Yeah, and it would make sense that he would bore of parties that he traveled with fairly quickly.
Yeah. Classic Torgar.
More so than the other characters that I have played. And then I know AJ and I both want to do Monster of the Week on stream, which is fun. And my favorite class to play in Monster of the Week is actually the mundane class, meaning you have no abilities of any kind, but you're the regular guy in the world of like all these monsters and stuff.
So tell me about Monster of the Week, because I really don't have much of a.
I'll send you the manual for it. It is it's kind of like the old school Buffy show. So you have you're hunters, monster hunters basically, and so the premise is you have to figure out what the monster is. You have to learn its weakness before you go into battle, and it's not a D20 system. It uses 2d6 for your rolls for everything. So like the Buffy character is called the Chosen, right? That's your powerful character, kind of your star. There is like the Professor, who's good at the investigating things. There's kind of like the survivalist militiaman kind of guy who's useful in combat. There's your agency person who think X-Files. But the mundane is literally just like, oh, look, there's Larry. But his ability is his best ability is, don't worry, I'll check it out. Which means anytime you go and investigate something by yourself, you get experience. So you can level your mundane up super fast, which is the trade-off. But you'll probably die if there is actually anything.
Well, that's true.
You can be a fallen god. Like there's all kinds of cool, like the classes in it are super cool.
So is it pretty fast learning game? Is it like as complicated? And I use the word complicated hesitantly to describe D&D, but is it as thick as D&D?
Oh no, it's a quick learning curve. So instead of all of the different skills, you have sharp for anything involving mental ability, tough for anything involving physical, cool for any kind of acting under pressure, and then weird is for any magical ability. So you roll your 2d6, and basically if you roll 10 or higher, it is a success. If you roll a 7 to 9, it's a success, but the DM has to put a cost on it. And then 6 and under is a fail, and anything under 6 is you get an experience point. Hey, what do you know? On the first stream, you're already getting Russian bots saying hi. How neat! Chris wants us to become famous.
Nice. Me too.
Yeah, if I was a mod, I would go ahead and forever ban this guy, but I can't.
Here, I'm going to take you on a quick tour while this is drying. Real quick though, I got pretty much all the base layer down. I've blended the pink tentacles in. This is kind of the only thing that you can see with the 3D print. You can kind of see that it's got some lines there, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's going to look really nice, and it's such a huge model, it doesn't matter. Like this one here is 3D printed, and it's tiny, and it still looks really good. The paint job's bad. I printed this Mimic last night. It's a little bit hard to see. I'm not sure what the quality of stream is, but this looks really pretty neat for what that was. But here's my all my paints. I got them all up. It's kind of a mess right now, but fairly simple. If starting out painting, I highly recommend these. This is called, it's a kind of a pretty new line of paint. It's Citadel contrast paints, and it's so easy. I mean, you can't get super rich and saturated colors and stuff, but you can really do some quick work to make it. Like this was a 15-minute paint job, and it's not great, and I'll make it better. But if you're like, oh, I want to have a paint for a game, but you don't have time, you can just throw it up fast, and you don't need a ton of colors to really make it look great.
Yeah.
So, well, that's pretty much all I can do for now. I have to let it dry, and then after that, I'm going to throw on some shades, and then it will really start transforming.
Nice. Well, we'll make sure and get an update of what it looks like Saturday.
For sure. And I'll do a painting video, and that will post up on our YouTube page. But thanks for joining me, Bob, for this painting session.
Oh, it's looking good, and looking forward to playing on Saturday. For anyone that happens to catch this video on demand or sees it later, we are on Twitter, and we have a Discord, so check us out.